Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technologies, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we go to a planet of 9 billion people by 2050, how we're going to be able to take care of all these people with the basic infrastructure that's needed, not only to sustain life, but to enhance. And I have a young gentleman sitting right beside me who's actively working on this in what we call legacy cities. These are traditional cities in the United States and other countries abroad that were at the pinnacle back in the manufacturing era, and now have faced challenges as we move past the information to the post-information era. So how we're going to be able to tie all this together. And this young man is part of a team that's doing that. This is Spencer Deese. He's Chief Executive Officer of the community company. And also they have what's called Loop. And we're going to learn all about Loop, I'm sure. But Spencer, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you, Dr. Hancock. Thanks for having me. Glad
to have you here. Tell us a little bit about the community company and this high technology internet-based Loop platform that you have.
So the community company was formed in 2013 under sort of a new and different type of idea about what has been traditionally considered business as usual. We formed our company around the principles of conscious capitalism, which talks about how a business can not only make profit, but can solve social problems at the same time.
Now, looking at this whole notion of conscious capitalism, tell us a little more about what that means. We've had Christopher King on, who was the king of conscious capitalism and also conscious communities. But what does it mean as far as Loop itself is concerned and the community company?
So Loop is the next wonderful internet platform where we will be able to buy anything from the local merchants in our town from the comfort of our home or our smartphone in the store. We'll be able to get products delivered. We'll be able to pick the products up in store. And what we've created is a revenue model that is self-sustaining. So every time you purchase a good from a local merchant, 10% of that goes back into the community in which the product was purchased.
Yeah, let's pull up this first slide if we can here so we can move this along. But looking at conscious capitalism, I want to have this is an excellent base to talk about this because this really relates to legacy cities, it relates to the expansion of the population, but also communities of need within these legacy cities. And we can, these cities are replete across the United States and many of the more established economies around the globe. But how do you weave this together so that the community company, go back to that, and conscious capitalism really helps to match or enmesh with each other?
So the community company's higher purpose was to create an economic tool where we could have access to the things that we need while at the same time serve our local communities. So what we do is keep sort of a singular marketplace platform so that we can go to this website, intheloop.life, and buy anything from any of the local stores or merchants and pay for any of the services in our town from this one place.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So what we're doing is we have sort of a twofold mission with the businesses. While we're trying to increase their revenue, we're also decreasing their expenses. Over the last 10, 15 years, technology subscriptions have become an increasing burden on businesses. They're paying for all different types of services that don't actually pertain to the transactions that move their business. So our model is such that we only make money when there's a successful transaction. So it doesn't cost anything for a business to sign up, it doesn't cost anything for a consumer to sign up, and they have access to this wonderful suite of technology that helps consumers manage their life and businesses manage their business.
This is a very bold statement though. Business can solve social problems.
It is.
I think a lot of business people would say, this is a young, brash young guy, he's out there with the tip of the spear. how are we going to solve the social issues with business?
So it gets to businesses reframing the way they see themselves in the economy. Traditionally, businesses seen sort of seen as a silo that operates independently, that's just seeking profit at all costs, whether that's the health and engagement of their workers or environmental sort of destruction that they cause in pursuit of that profit. What we've learned over the last 20 years is that a business, when it takes a long-term strategic view, is actually able to make more profit in the short term than if they were to implement cost-cutting measures in the short term that actually have a negative long-term effect. So we see this all the time when it comes to the regulation of specific industries, maybe the energy industry. We think, oh, it wouldn't be economical for us to have a safe working environment. It's too expensive, it's too costly. But that one worker has an accident, and all the lawsuits that result from that are more expensive than if we had just implemented safe regulations at the outset.
Yeah. And this is like employees in the company itself. If you keep them safe, you keep them happy, you keep them working instead of having constant turnover, it's a whole lot less expensive to do that. And there have been a number of Harvard case studies that talks about the comparisons of major retailers and how you can actually pay more, give them fringe benefits, and it's actually cheaper to manage your company if you're doing that kind of thing. And that really relates to this whole conscious capitalism. But going back to the loop, what does LOOP stand for? And then tying that, we're going to keep pushing the edge of this conscious capitalism and conscious communities. How does that actually impact onto that?
Great question. So LOOP came about as we were working as consultants for the Greater McLean Chamber of Commerce, and they wanted us to come up with some new technology that could help them refocus on their mission, which was to rise the tide of all the businesses in their community, as opposed to little networking events or other things that have an impact, but a menial one. So we've set out to create this central marketplace, similar to marketplaces of old. In ancient times, we would go to the marketplace, and you'd be able to find goods of all different shapes and sizes. We tried to take that sort of old imagery and bring that into the 21st century and create a technology that could do that.
And looking at this interrelated screen here, but this is one of the things, Spencer, when I'm abroad, two places I want to go when I go to a new country. One is the Central Museum, see all the history and geography and all these other kinds of things. And secondly is the Central Market, because you can see what they eat, how people dress, how they get along with each other, and there's a lot of smoking, a lot of socialization and all those things. And so this really, if you look at what we have here as far as these interconnected circles, this is really all about all of this. How does this fit into the loop, but also the community company itself, this image?
So this image is perfect because it shows the delicate balance that must be maintained within an organization to operate efficiently in the 21st century. The organization has to have purpose. Our purpose is to create a safer and more accessible economy. It has to take all the stakeholders into account. Traditionally, the view is we're focused on the shareholders. We want to make that money for our shareholders. Our product is our stock. Whether you're selling airplane engines or anything else, the product ends up becoming the stock as opposed to the thing you're actually selling. So when we take this stakeholder relationship, we're balancing not only the investors, but the employees, the customers, the community at large, and the environment, because our businesses touch all these different elements. So why not consider them when we're planning and creating the business?
Yeah, one of the changes we have in all this, Spencer, as you know, is that the consumer, which sounds very strange in the community, becomes network into the supply chain itself, because what you're doing is trying to find out what it is that they really want, and you back that all the way up and all the way back to raw materials, which can make things much more energy efficient, much more productive. And if you're looking at, well, we're going to make this thinking the community wants it, and they may not want it. So looking at that, you're talking about solving social problems. How are you leveraging all this, one, to solve the social problems? And we kind of have a hint at that, but then what social problems are you really talking about?
So the first and biggest social problem that we see in communities around America and around the globe is that small and medium retailers, the leadership of those businesses, have a very high depression rate. It's a tough economy out there for them. The growth of online selling has hindered those businesses that haven't kept pace with technology. And they haven't kept pace for a number of reasons. It's expensive. It's expensive to build it, and then it's expensive to market it. So most companies get stuck in this chicken or the egg where they build the technology and then they don't have the money to market that, hey, we have this awesome e-commerce platform.
And then the third part of that, of course, is the maintenance. That's really the issue, too.
It is a big issue.
So how do you fit that in?
How do we fit that in? Our platform is free. There's no subscription cost. And we will continue to update and iterate the platform throughout the growth of the company so that we're constantly adding features that are needed. And not just things that we perceive as sort of maybe needed, but we're finding out from actual business owners and consumers, this is what we need. So we're going to find that out and continue to build off of that.
Now, looking at organizations within the communities, because you have, there's dozens or hundreds of organizations within the community, and how do you bring them in, the PTAs, parent-teacher associations, the sports clubs, the communities of faith and all that?
That's a great question. So our platform not only provides businesses in a town with a profile and an online store and a way to sell their goods, but for the other organizations like a Little League or a PTA, we offer the most unique type of partnership experiences that have been going on for years, but there's never been a technology associated with it. So someone says, Dr. Sam, our foundation is holding a fundraiser at Chipotle tonight. When you order your burrito, mention our fundraiser, and they'll give 20% of the proceeds to the fundraiser. We make that technologically possible so that when you're checking out at Chipotle now, there might be 5 fundraisers that you haven't heard of that are happening at Chipotle, and you can pick any different one of them to check out with. So we're opening up the access for the nonprofits. We're also giving them a centralized information hub. They have profiles, just like the businesses. They're not selling products, but they have information that everybody needs.
And the whole thing, too, is that you can round robin, so all of the businesses have equal share in this. They can actually support the organizations within their own community. It may be affiliated with their children, their grandchildren, aunts, uncles, whoever it is. So that's very important. We've run out of time, so you have about 20 seconds. What do you see for the growth and development of the community company over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
So what I see for the growth and development of the community company over the next 5, 10, 15 years is we're building this platform around a neural network to be able to anticipate people's needs and help them find the things and connections that they need in their community. I do want to mention real quick before we are just opening up access to our Alpha consumer group. It's going to be a private, exclusive test of this platform.
This is Spencer Deese, Chief Executive Officer of the community company. Thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
I need a job.
Necesito trabajo.
I would like to speak English better.
Me gustaría hablar inglés mejor.
I want to be a U.S. citizen.
Quisiera ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos.
For over 35 years,
Por más de 35 años,
the Hispanic Committee of Virginia has been serving our community.
el Comité Hispano de Virginia ha estado sirviendo a nuestra comunidad.
Job training and placement,
Capacitación, ayuda para conseguir trabajo,
education for children and adults,
educación para niños y adultos,
immigration, naturalization, and medical referrals.
ayuda para los procesos de inmigración y naturalización y orientación sobre médicos
Are a small part of what we do.
son solo una pequeña parte de lo que hacemos.
For help, information, or to volunteer,
Para ayuda, información o para ofrecerse como voluntario,
contact the Hispanic Committee of Virginia,
comuníquese con el Comité Hispano de Virginia,
helping everyone participate more fully in American society.
ayudando a todos a participar plenamente en la sociedad norteamericana.
Hey, Lena, where's yours?
Would you notice if you were missing half your kidney function? According to the National Kidney Foundation, 20 million people have chronic kidney disease, and 20 million more may be at risk and not even know it. Anyone with high blood pressure, diabetes, or family history of chronic kidney disease is at risk. Early diagnosis is vitally important. To get the whole story, talk to your doctor and visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org or call for a free brochure. Because when it comes to chronic kidney disease, you might not know the half.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock. Welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you on a week-to-week basis looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, products, and of course the leadership that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And we're looking for all ages, energy levels, ideas, and just pure creativity as we innovate our way through the 21st century. Innovation and resiliency, sustainability in ways that's going to address adding 2 billion new people, yes, 2 billion new people to the planet by 2050. And by the end of the century, we may have 12 to 13 billion people, and how are we going to take care of them? I have a gentleman sitting right beside me who's very much involved in this. This is Seneca Fisher-Vance, Chief Operations Officer for what's called the Community Company. And they have a, I guess you would call it a platform tying together the cloud and the internet called Loop. Is that correct?
That is correct. First of all, thanks for having me tonight, Sam. It's a pleasure to be here, Mr.
Well,
Hancock.
Seneca, it's great having you on, and thank you for being a leader as far as a community company and Loop is concerned. But tell us about the community company and how is it really chartered to deal with legacy communities? We're going to focus specifically on Baltimore because that's something that we're all working on right now, but also any legacy city in the U.S. and abroad. How does a community company fit into that?
So let's break that down a little bit here. The community company started, as Spencer mentioned, with the Chamber of Commerce. We were we had been initially consultants for the chamber. We were set up to connect our local communities with technology. We were set up to spark our local chamber growth and use a technology service to do so.
Okay. And looking at that, why in something as far as the legacy communities, why is that very important?
So to look into the legacy cities, some issues that are facing these areas, there's a lack of technology and business services for new businesses to come up, new startup communities. There is a little bit more tying towards the traditional existing business relationships and the long-standing culture that has been there. They're not as poised to develop new infrastructures for small startup communities, as well as our new service providers.
Yeah, looking at this whole thing as far as this use of the cloud and the information technology, you have some communities, these legacy communities that really were the stars as far as the industrial and manufacturing generation, but that's moved on. Of course, all this new IT technology is out there. So how are you taking this into the communities down to the household level to tie all these people together?
So we start with a simple process. We start by listening and learning from our consumer groups, our associations, and national and local merchants in the areas. We learn what their pain points are, we learn how to address them, what their consumers need, and what their capacity is for this technology. We learn how to market that technology, how to integrate it in a way that fits their business model, as well as we take a mission of giving back to the community. So every time they're selling products, they're giving back to their community as well. When you combine the existing physical infrastructure of these communities, these manufacturing big dogs, these new startup infrastructures of the Ubers and the Airbnbs, when you provide that digital infrastructure and you connect those old pieces of business in, you create a really conscious, new, vibrant environment to attract and poise for your city for new growth and new projects.
Well, I like the name Loop that you give into this as far as the platform for all this. Is there any particular definition for the acronym Loop, or is it actually a name and so it's a proper noun, and then you're really using all the infrastructure that exists as far as IT and the internet and the cloud to put all this together to bring these people together?
So to start with your question, Loop does not have an acronym. It's a common phrase used in America, sort of loop yourself in, get in the loop, find yourself in the information cycle. So I think that pertains very well to what we're doing here, connecting all these different layers of information and business together. When it comes to your second sort of question about how we're taking this cloud computing, this sort of Internet of Things idea, and sort of making sense of it for our modern communities, you'll see a lot of disconnect. The information, sometimes products are out there online, but you're not sure where they are, you're not sure how to get them, or if you're buying it from one site, you might have to come out and get something from a different site. So that's sort of where we address our situation. We take the Internet of Things, we take the existing business community, and we put them on one site so everyone can sort of have a simple way of finding their goods and services around them.
Now, tying together citizens within a community, this is always quite difficult no matter what we have as far as high tech and all the technology aspects, going back to just the common mail and then the telephone and all these other and then the fax, and now involved, as you say, in the Internet of Things. So how do we link together these local businesses and the people around them? Many times people need a hammer, they need whatever it is that they need, and it may be 3 doors from them, or it could be 2 blocks over. So as far as Loop is concerned, how do people within that local community know where all these goods and services may be so they can go get it? But you also have a very easy way, I think, to order all of this and make sure it's there and have it delivered even.
Absolutely. So one of the ways that we start by connecting this group is by taking various integration structures. We've got a few in-house techniques that we use. We do local on-site onboarding, physical nature. We do digital onboarding, remote access, as well as we bring in an internship program to work with the local human capital of the towns that we work with. We teach the children vocational skills, how to work with business systems, how to learn how to integrate new technologies.
No, I tell you, that's really phenomenal. But looking at this legacy into the 21st century, I kind of labeled this. I don't know if this is something that you've labeled or not, but you're tying together business, civil society, development, all these various organizations within the community. This is something that many businesses will talk about. Most likely they don't do very well. I find that when I go out into the community and talk with businesses about how many organizations you're working with. So how do you have this so it does become something that's effective and it's just second nature? We want to deal with all these groups out here in the community, and then we're going to go to this whole thing as far as revenue share. But how do we tie them together first? They become comfortable with each other, and then we can go to the next step.
So Spencer touched on it a little bit about our unique partnership opportunities, but it starts with our merchants and vendors. They're managing their goods, they're managing their business functions for the end goal of profit, of selling these goods. They're after that revenue, while our community organizations are after a different type of revenue. They're after a membership fee, association, dues, what have you. But they are also invested in the growth of the community, they're invested in local commerce, and they do want to provide support networks for all businesses and all community partners. So if you take those missions and you realize they're both in line with one another, how do you create a product that can really push both avenues together? That's what we've done here. So if you are a local merchant selling products, this is a system that will cut down on your expenses and give you a way to sell to the local community. But let's say you're a local PTA or you're a church fundraising organization and you want to partner with, let's say, Chipotle, and run a fundraiser. It's a good way to connect outside nonprofit help, learn how to fundraise through local commerce and help 2 parties at once. It's a unique way to add a second revenue stream, as you were mentioning, into this fee structure for these associations. So that'll really empower them if their bottom dollar is certainly a factor as well. And
the whole thing about this too is to involve the communities as far as what it is you're doing with Loop and the community company and with their local merchants. So it's providing support within the local community. So instead of driving 15 blocks or 5 miles or something like that, they say, the pricing is almost the same as if I go out of the community, but if we do all this here, we know that there's a certain percentage is going to be coming back into the PTA or the football club or whatever it is that's going on in that community. So it really ties everybody together. So looking at Loop, what is the mechanism within this the IT that you have that allows this free association, but at the same time open communication, so the local merchant, whatever it may be, it could be a restaurant, it could be the local neighborhood hardware, the grocery store, that they start carrying the products or the quality of goods that the people in the community really need. Because we talk about, like these food deserts. And so this is something that can be addressed through this. How do you do that?
So similarly to like a food desert, we deal with what you might call a product desert, where you've got this large town, maybe there's goods and services that the people are buying, but it's all not centralized. You don't know where the products are. They might be on this site, they might be in this store, and you're not sure if they even have your hammer that you need today. So how do you get to the point where the businesses are learning from local consumer needs? And that's something our platform does address as well. Sort of an in-house closed loop system allows the businesses to track their own sales, monitor the consumers' needs, what times they're buying, what products they're selling the most of. But it also allows a secondary feature of connection to the community. So let's say you're Ace Hardware and you've got a competing hardware store down the street. You can now see what products consumers are buying in quantities of that store. And you can consult to us and ask for help and learn what your consumers need based on local product buying habits.
So there really is a two-way flow, and I guess when you're saying two-way, that it's really, it's almost like 3 or 4 dimensional chess, because you're looking at the depth within the community, and then these people can give the feedback. So it's not only the feedback within the organization to the purveyor of those goods and services, but also to the household. Could be, you know, what are the elderly purchasing? What do they need within the community that may or may not be available, so they don't, again, have to travel far to go out. So how do you differentiate by ages, by consumer demands, by families through this loop software or platform that you have?
Well, one of the cool feature sets that we're working on currently
We have to be quick. I got one more
It's
question
an age
and we'll be done.
verification feature set. So as you're purchasing alcohol, cigarettes, tobacco, any of these large, age verification products that are available in your town, we have a system that will allow consumers to register their age, tracked by IDs, so that as they go and purchase these goods, they're not bogged down by age verification systems at store. The store can recognize their consumers and trust their consumers in a new way. So that's a really interesting product that we're working for, the sort of the 18 to 21 group. But we also do really interesting studies through our aggregated consumer data. And if women are buying a certain product, then we're certainly going to reach out to all of our stores in the area and tell them to stock up.
That's very good. Well, we're running out of time, so we got about 30 seconds. What do you see for the growth and development of the community company and also this loop platform that you have over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
So I certainly see us coming into a lot of communities, working with city leaders, working with development sectors of the city, trying to figure out ways to work with the existing merchants, leverage the consumer needs, and build a unique system for that area. I know Spencer had mentioned we're just running an alpha test this week, so if you hop on to www.community.life, you can sign up and join our alpha group. Any business, any consumers, any associations that are interested.
This is Seneca Fisher-Vance. He's the Chief Operations Officer of the community company. Thank you for being here and sharing with us, and thank you viewers for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
Just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me. There's more than just books at the library.
Il y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
Hello. You have a lot of great books here today. You know there's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
I don't want to be hooked to a machine.
I want all the medical treatment available to me.
I wouldn't want my family to have to make this decision.
My doctor knows what's best for me.
An advance directive is your life on your terms. Talk with your family. Decide what's right for you. Then put it in writing.
Documenting my wishes today means my family won't have to make heart-wrenching decisions later.
To learn more, visit www.putitinwriting.org.
1,200 American youth run away from their homes every day. The National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. 1-800-RUNAWAY. If you are a runaway, thinking about running away from home, or a parent or guardian concerned about issues facing your child, Call us 24 hours a day. 1-800-RUNAWAY. In times of crisis, hope is just a phone call away. 1-800.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we look in 144 different nations looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, products that are making a difference as we move into the 21st century. And as we're looking and working with these countries is how do you provide the new technologies and the new use of technologies that have been there maybe for the last 20 or 30 years. And that's something we're going to be talking about here as we're looking at something that's called Loop Platform. It's kind of the Internet of Things, kind of, I'll use that, but using the cloud computing along with advanced IT psychometrics, and also looking at how do we maximize looking and working with communities. And that's what this young guy is sitting right beside me, Clark Sampson. He's a Chief Experience Officer, and we're going to define that term. I love that title that you have there of the community company. And Clark, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you very much for having me, Dr. Hancock. It's a pleasure.
Glad to have you here. What is a Chief Experience Officer?
So I'll just go with start with my personal mission. So my personal mission and our internal mission is to really, provide for those basic human needs. And that's what we do. It's to inspire and to nurture the human spirit. In terms of as a chief experience officer, yes, it's a new term. It's a hybrid term for sure. Everyone out there is, oh, you're not a chief marketing officer, you're not a chief branding officer. No, we go way beyond that kind of fictitious landscape. We believe in people. We believe in assisting people and going through their insights day in and day out. Seneca and Spencer both hit on it multiple times, and that is the importance of the experience. It's way more about than anything material.
Yeah, and you talk about Spencer. He's your Chief Executive Officer, and also Seneca is the COO, because we have to define that because these are very different shows. So
yes.
At the same time, we need to define what these people are and who they are. But looking at it, why is it important to have a Chief Experience Officer within your organization?
So with my background, I focus primarily on, I've done retail and I've done event production. I've been all around, I've done sales, I've done management, I've done event production, project management. And the most important thing there is to be able to have the true eye for what people want. I'm never going to really say consumers or businesses, because when you boil all those down, those are people. Those are people, build those up. And they make those. The problem with a lot of big corporate structures is that they become a silo, and we're just not about that. We're about really giving the power back to the individual and giving them a true identity.
Well, this whole thing about the term that you use and what you've called your technology loop and the platform, I think is exactly right, because what you're doing is you're looping around the whole community. So you're involving the businesses, the community, all the various the organizations, all the way down to the household. And this is what Emerald Planet's all about: is how do you connect the individual, the household, into the community, and then the community together itself. So looking at this shop locally, I know this is something that you've talked about in your literature as far as the community company is concerned. And looking at that, obviously based on what you just said, it's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a kind of a short-term trend, but it's something that you see as something that's sustainable, it's resilient, and it's going to be long-term. Describe how you plan to do that with your technology.
Absolutely. We don't do trends. I don't believe in trends. I believe in longevity. Trends are something that go in and out. We're right here. We're talking about
like
the
fashion or fad.
Yes. I don't do fads. I do style. I mean, you could tell a little bit by the pink jacket, a little peacocking action right now. But the three most important things for shopping local and how we're going to make this a long and everlasting process is, first and foremost, Loop gives you access to goods and services. There's also a cash problem. We're kind of assisting with a cash problem. If you're
mean within the community
within
itself?
The communities, if we're thinking about a little bit more of underprivileged communities, per se, it could be Baltimore, it could be parts of New York, it could be parts of Boston, these legacy cities. There is a cash problem. There's a cash problem because why are we having such an inordinate amount of cash in a register in unsafe communities? Why would we have people walking around in unsafe communities with cash to pay? They all have a mobile phone. I'd much rather their mobile phone get stolen and all of their information is secure instead of being at risk. And that's really what we provide for. I mean, yes, having cash is a great liquid asset for a business, and some small business owners are like, wait, no, I want my cash. Yes, you can still have your cash. That's just going to be in an account, a business account. Transfers happen pretty much instantaneously now. So security and verification are things that we just really keep first and foremost. And then also thirdly, there's the vocational training. In a lot of those underserved, underprivileged communities, the way that Loop will stay and prosper is because we have we have the millennial generation, we have the baby boomer generation, we have these digital Amazons, I'm going to call them. They're the ones that are like 10, 12 years younger than me who really know how to look at a screen from across the room, and they know what code I put in just because they know the pattern of the screen. So that's really what we offer. We really want to reap what you sow. We want to reinvest back in our communities and make them stronger.
Yeah, looking at this image here, the shop local, I think this makes a lot of sense. And the whole thing is that really to link people together and to have a way to allow people to actually reinvest in their community, because if you have somebody that's actually shopping in their community, they really are reinvesting in their community and they don't even know it. Something that's painless. But at the same time, as far as this Loop is concerned, how do you make that a two-way, three-way, four-way conversation so it's, again, I used this analogy before, it's like 3- and 4-dimensional chess. You're looking through the community, but you're looking at all the disparate parts, but looking at it as it all fits together. How do you do that within the framework of what you're doing as the Chief Experience Officer?
Okay, as the Chief Experience Officer, it's a great question. Thank you, Sam. I look at it and as the backdraft. So I look at it as the fire is the demand and the oxygen is the supply. And through our equal partnership and really reaching out and creating those partnerships and those networks and making goods available, we're able to really keep that traditional form of a town center and are really we are giving back to our local communities by not sending our people to these, these food deserts, these retail deserts that are 10, 15, 20 miles sometimes outside of their area. That's not acceptable. That's not honest. That's not what we should be doing to grow our economies and grow our businesses.
Well, looking at that as far as the environment is concerned, the more that we can do within our local communities, that people literally can walk to their shops, whatever those shops may be, that they're able to develop these close relationships with the shopkeepers, the small businesses, but the businesses with the people themselves, because as you have, we keep talking about, all these millennials, and I think they're called screeners, or, the new digital
I'm not
natives.
A screener, I'm not that young.
The digital natives, as some of them are called. But, you have these baby boomers, and there are over 80 million of those, and they have special needs, and those needs are really just now being defined. And so this is something that's very important for these shops that may not even be thinking about it, that all of a sudden they have, this whole client base that are having to go the 10 or 15 miles away, and they could be doing it right there in the community.
Exactly.
So looking at this feedback loop, and I know you call this filling the gaps. Filling, F-I-L-L-I-N-G.
Yes, I do.
What do you see as the gaps? And then how are you using this very progressive platform in order to take care of those gaps?
Yes, so before I discussed there's really three gaps. There are the access to products and services, which I mentioned earlier. There are the high operational costs for the businesses, and then there are also we have this issue with a lot of tech partners. I'm not going to name any. I don't feel like really getting
No, you don't want to do that.
But in terms of those tech partners, we're seeing a trend of companies that come in to provide a service or a good, and they're not giving back to the communities that they operate in. We will never stop giving back to the communities that we operate in. People want local options. 88% of people that type into their Google search or whatever search that they use, they have the intent to shop local. And then 50% of those people, they search and then they shop. Why aren't we having the access? Why is the access not there? And that's a question that we'll never stop answering.
Well, this whole thing, too, this is very interesting about the political campaigns and the donations for various offices, is that, you know, as far as the millennials and those younger than that, they're more than willing to contribute, but they want to do it instantaneously. They hear the news report, they do their donation, you know, through use their thumbs, through the mobile apps, and then they're on about life instead of, you know, really carrying this for day in, day out. So looking at these things as far as what you're doing at 1776 and expanding the community company, what do you really see that's on the horizon as the Chief Experience Officer to more closely connect the community back into Loop, and then Loop itself into the businesses and the organizations within the community?
Well, for me, especially as the rest of our team, it's all about leveraging the consumer needs, excuse me, for that local business capacity. And as well, there's also the continued learning. And I keep saying it, I'm going to sound like a broken record, it's like we will never stop trying to understand and give back to our communities and to the individuals within those communities. We need to figure out what people want, what people actually want, how they actually want it, and when they actually want it. And none of those things have been actually figured out. And, you know, especially in my capacity as a Chief Experience Officer, I'd like to say, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the poet Sam Smith. You know Sam Smith, the English singer. He says he does it for the love. And that's really what we do it for. We do it for the love. If money was the #1 priority for us, we would honestly be charging a subscription. So,
and doing other things. It's just like Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV, is that we're really doing it for the community because that's what social responsibility is all about. And it's the give back and give before you ask and all these other things. What does Clark Sampson see for his future over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
So come
on, gotta be quick, got 10 seconds.
I think that moving forward, it's just going to be learning more and more and more about people. There's so many levels of people, there's so many levels of psychology, education, and
Clark
there's
Sampson,
pain points.
Chief Experience Officer of the community company, as we greet the Emerald Planet.
Saving for retirement might be easy for some folk, but for others, it might take a little more work. And for those who haven't started, there are still things you can do to catch up.
Oh, that is good news.
Like getting out from underneath past debt. And don't get wrapped up with high-interest credit cards.
Get you some eyes.
Be diversified with your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Your financial goals are not out of reach. The choice is clear. For a happy ending, choose to save.
Everyone with alcohol and drug addiction is in the same boat. With treatment, you can find solid ground. For drug and alcohol information and treatment referral for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Dude, are you sure you want this tattoo? Because just do it.
Some mistakes in life are permanent. Like hearing loss. To learn how to protect your hearing, visit asha.org.
You've probably heard about heart disease, but did you know that it's the #1 killer of women nationwide? Heart disease claims more lives each year than breast cancer, lung cancer, or strokes combined. But there are steps you can take to protect yourself against it. For more information on how you can prevent heart disease, contact your local American Heart Association or visit their website at www.americanheart.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet. I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and Executive Director of Emerald Planet and of Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis, looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And I have a gentleman sitting right beside me who's been with us a number of occasions now. This is Charles. He goes by Chuck D. Vollmer. He is the author, founder of Jobenomics and the Jobenomics blog. But we're really talking about a little different. We're expanding on this whole Jobenomics and Jobenomics blog. One is because we're tying together these high technology hotshots that we've been talking about, but also you've really been greatly expanding your base and everything that you're doing. So we're going to have to go back and define what Jobenomics is all about and some of the things that you've been doing. So well, share away.
As we've talked, Sam, over the years, you know, it started out as writing a book and talking on Capitol Hill and seeing if we got a lot of interest, and then we expanded out. So we have a national grassroots movement. We got a couple of million people in the movement now, and we've published a lot about where the jobs are, where the workforce is going, and had a national movement. And now all of a sudden we've got picked up by New York City and the guy that's running for mayor and a number of community leaders, as well as Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And so in New York City, we put together a plan how to create a net 1 million new jobs over the next decade and we broke it down to each of the 5 boroughs. And in Baltimore, it's 100,000 new jobs because we're focusing on the hardest part of the inner city, the place where Freddie Gray and all the rest of the stuff in Penn North and in Druid Hills. And this is a pretty tough neighborhood. And we said, okay, they've lost 200,000 jobs over the last 3 decades. How are we going to make 100,000 new jobs the next decade?
I tell you, it's just incredible what you've been doing, and you've been slow and steady wins the race, as my racing buddy from Osaka, Japan says, and you've really been doing that. And it's really interesting, Chuck, to see how this whole thing has matured over the last 4 or 5 years. We've known each other and talked about this, because now it's almost like you're becoming the go-to vision and mission, and not just, you know, as far as New York sounds great, Baltimore is fantastic, but there's many other communities that are looking at as well. What is so compelling about this that people are saying, hey, there's really something to this Jobenomics and we have to really pay attention and start using it?
I think the difference is we really focus on the base of the economic pyramid, and the most financially distressed groups are the ones we go after. And we see the highest potential groups are women-owned businesses, which have not produced in the way that we think they should have. I think there are more distressed women, more women heads of household, that type of thing. Like in the inner cities, like in Baltimore, minority-owned businesses. The minorities want to get on the other side of the cash register. We look at the Gen Y businesses, the digital. We have a big network technology revolution. Is with the Loop guys. We're working with them now because that's part of the network technology and the screenagers and the digital natives, and then because of the people that took a wage last year, the 160 million people that took a wage last year, 72% are below median wage. And that's why you see the frustration and anger. And so the politicians that are out there, are the solutions tend to be government kind of businesses or big businesses. And we really believe that small business employ 80% of all the the people in the United States. So how do we put that in overdrive? And that's what people are catching on to.
I just think it's fantastic. And you've been sending me this for a long time. I do look at this, but this Jobenomics blog, this is something that I know that more and more of these thought leaders and elected officials are really not only just looking at, but they're now starting to use the statistics, because you're looking at it, you're driving down into the data, and you're saying, yeah, this is what the media has generally been reporting, but this is what the real story is. And so tell us about this Jobenomics blog and how you're driving through this data and getting to the real impact on not only the economy, but people's lives.
So we put out a number of reports, and we put out a quarterly employment report that's about 100 pages. It talks about every job, where the new jobs are going, how the workforce is changing. And right now, 40% of the people in the United States employed are work part-time. They're contingent workers. In the next 10 years, it'll be 50%. And we don't even look at that and the ramifications, how that's changing. We put out a quarterly on the unemployment report, which is, again, about 100 pages long. They said, why are people leaving the workforce twice as fast as the other? And why are they leaving to welfare? Why is the underground economy? All these types of things happening. And then we look at the 5.7 unfilled million jobs that are unfilled, and then the energy technology revolution, and the 20 million jobs that could be made out of that, and then the digital economy we call the network technology. We look at each of those areas to figure out where the jobs are. In the three segments you just had, that's what they're talking about. How do you mass produce, at the local level, both the consumer and the services part of it.
Yeah, and network all these people together so you have this feedback. And you're talking about, the community company and this loop platform they developed. So, again, I've used this analogy, and I think it perfectly fits this 3 and 4 dimension chess, that you're looking into the community, through the community, but also how does all this tie together? And this comes into these business generators. I know this is something that you introduced that concept some years ago. And this is now coming to the fore. So it's just like you've got this movement going there, buddy. So what's the difference between this generator, because that's what you're calling it, and business incubators, which is normally what things are traditionally been called?
These hundreds of pages of report that we put on the web. It's free. You can download it, and all the community guys are debating it, and then they come back and they say, well, how do you implement this? Well, communities have long had incubators, but incubators are usually around universities. They're looking for the next silver bullet, the Steve Jobs, Bill Gates type of thing. And then you have accelerators, and accelerators are usually taking an existing business, finding the good ones, putting some money in mezzanine financing, and getting it going. We like business incubators and accelerators, but we really focused on business generators, which you have on your slide there. And essentially, we go through the community and find out who's got the right hustle, and we work with the nonprofits, the sports teams, the businesses, and say, give us your people that you can start a business. Then we take them into an area to see if they've got the skills. And by the way, when we get this kind of due diligence, we find, say, 1 out of 10 that really have the moxie to get the thing. We don't throw the other 9 away. We say, hey, you can go work for these guys. And you
start the business and bring these others too.
Bring it in. And by the way, then they'll probably want to start a spin-off business and do that. And we focus it on the needs of the inner city. For example, in New York, Manhattan is a lot different from Staten Island, which has got a lot of empty things. Different Queens, which has LaGuardia and Kennedy. So there's a lot of different. In Baltimore, especially in the very depressed areas, we really focus on the lower skilled jobs, like construction, demolition of 30,000 buildings. We're looking at the digital economy and those types of things.
Yeah, looking at this is, normally I don't allow these very busy slides, but this is something that really goes to the heart of what you're talking about. Walk us through this, because I know this really kind of summarizes everything that you're all about, and really goes to the heart of this business generator. What are we looking at?
Yeah, I get the top level there. The thing is, take the existing workforce, and if you got 1,000 people, we say there are 100 of those people really want a job, okay, and we work with the next line down is work with the nonprofits, the sports teams, and stuff to identify those people. The churches are really good at this, and the nonprofits say, okay, these are the high value. Then we take them into two streams. We do the evaluation. Can they start a business, or can they support a business? And then the bottom of this, and that's what the two clouds are. The cloud on the left is starting a business, and we tailor the businesses, and we're really looking at the base of the pyramid kind of businesses, and the people. And the bottom is all the support people. We work with the venture capital, the impact investors. In Baltimore, we're looking at HUD-3 financing. We're looking at Baltimore has got they just had all the big businesses said, we want to buy Baltimore. Okay, well, why don't you buy not commodities, but buy services, buy bodies, and help them start their businesses to furnish you the indirect workforce that you really need.
Yeah. Yeah, and looking at this explain all this to us. Now we got a chart we can actually see, and let's go through this, and we have another chart that's companion to this. Go ahead, Chuck.
What the blue line shows is that back in 1990, Baltimore used to be a manufacturing city. They probably had 600,000-700,000 people at their heydays after World War II. But in 1990, they had approximately 459,000. It's dropped significantly. They've lost almost 89,000 jobs over the thing. Now, Baltimore City's different because Maryland is doing better than the national average. The county is doing better than national average, but the city is plummeting, and that's where you see the incidents like Freddie Gray and all the anger and all the frustration and stuff. And saying, so our plan is the red line shows is okay, in the next decade, how do we create 100,000 new jobs?
That's a mighty task. Okay, looking at these 4 different levels, we're running out of time, Chuck.
Okay, real quick, we have these 4 areas. Manufacturing. We want to create about 34,000 jobs, and we're going to do that because Under Armour is putting a headquarters in there. And we're going to take the indirect workforce. The health care and social assurance, we want to do indirect care, and that's really for the mothers.
Age in place.
Yeah, well, elder care, child care, and we're really using the skills for the older women that to redeploy that. The demolition and construction is for the 30,000 homes, and the digital economy is for the screenagers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, looking at this, tying us in with Loop and these types of platforms, and we're going to close out on this. We got about 30 seconds. How do you see Jobenomics meshing in with a system like
the Loop? The Loop guys, that were just on, like what they're doing, and but they're talked a lot about buying commodities. I would like to buy services, and what they can do for if I start, say, 10,000 new businesses, they can do all the back office work for those, and that would be huge because I don't have to teach the business owners how to do accounting, HR. They can outsource it to the Loop guys.
They can do it themselves. This is Chuck Vollmer, the author and editor and founder of Jobenomics blog. Thank you, Chuck, for being with us. It's always good to have you on. And we thank the community company for being with us as well. And thank you to viewers for being with us as we're looking around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.